Morning, students. Welcome to the class. Today we will start chapter number 2, what is democracy, why democracy, from polity sign. So, first of all, let me brief you about what this chapter is all about, or what are the topics which will be taken in this. So, what is democracy and why democracy? So, the topics which will be taken in this are what is democracy, basically, what is the meaning of democracy, features of democracy, what are different features of democracy, why there is a need of democracy, and the last one, argument against or for democracy. So these are the four topics which will cover the full chapter. What is democracy, features, and why democracy, why features and arguments against and for democracy. So let's start with the first topic, that is what is democracy. So democracy in simple meaning, it's a form of government in which rulers are elected by the people. So people play an important role. They elect, they will choose who will make law, regulations, who will pass acts, who will govern the government of India for them. So people have a much greater importance in democracy as compared to other despotics, monarchy, and military rule. So form of government in which the rulers are elected by people. So does it means that if a country is having an election process, that country is a democratic country? So let's take whether it is possible or not, because you will see some of the examples in your neighborhood. Some countries conduct elections, but they are not as democratic government as we are. So, what are the features of democracy? What are the basic features which make any country a democracy, that we have to see now? So, features of democracy, first feature, major decision by elected leaders. So, in a country is called a democratic country only when the major decisions are taken by the elected leaders. It was not in Pakistan during the Pervez Musharraf times. I hope you have heard the name of Pervez Musharraf. He did the military coup in Pakistan in 99. So at that time, military dominates the politics and the elected leaders of Pakistan was sidelined, and all the powers retained by the military in Pakistan. So you can say that during that time, even the elections take place, and Pervez Musharraf became the president of Pakistan. So some of the medias and other elected members or non-elected members have shown some constraint that there are some malpractice done by the Pervez Musharraf to get into the power. But overall, you can say that at their Pakistan, the military and the intelligence agencies, that is ISI, they play an important role in major decisions in the country. On the other hand, while if we are talking about India, so major decisions are taken by elected leaders only, like PM, prime ministers, and CM. You have seen that we have around 545 members elected by the people who represents the Lok Sabha. So from there, the PM got elected and PM got selected, and then we can say that he is the real power, he is the real persons to take the major decision of for the Indian government. So major decision by elected leaders means in a democracy the final decision making power must rest with the those elected by people. So again you see that democracy, it's all about people. So major decision making process must rest with those elected by people. Second point, which is the feature of democratic country, or feature of democracy, that is free and fair electoral competition. So it is not in China, there is no free and fair electoral competition. As you can see that in China, election held every 5 years. Okay, so there I think there will be no problem if there is election of 5 years, but election held for the 5 years to come to the National People Congress, that is the Parliament of China. But some of the members are elected by army. Some of the members who will go to the National People Congress are elected by army. So you can say that army play a part in the government of China. Then the candidate in China who wants to contest election need approval from CCP, that is Chinese Communist Party, to stand in election. So candidate need approval from Chinese Communist Party to select to stand in elections, and there is only one party rule, and whatever the result may be, that party again come to power, and this is how the China election works. But when it comes to the India, there is no involvement of army. You see that there is no involvement of army, and anyone can contest election, anyone can nominate, can file the nomination, and so a democracy must be based on a free and fair election where those currently in power have a fair chance of losing. That means it should not be always that suppose if one person is ruling from 10 years, 15 years, then it's 20 years, and we have no other choice rather than just voting for that party or that person. And free and fair election means there should be no malpractice involved, which we have seen for some of the politics involvement of world. So this is the second point. Free and fair competition is the prerequisite for the democratic country. Feature number three, or point number three, which is required for a democratic country, is one person, one vote, one value. So these are the three things. Let me explain to you. First, it simply says that right to vote. There should be a right to vote. Each adult citizen must have one vote, and each vote must have one value. So there should be no discrimination with any person. If he or she is an adult, must be given the chance to vote, and their vote value should remain same. That suppose if male is voting, their value should count as 1, and if female is also voting, that should remain the same, that is 1. So value of the vote should remain same. For example, in India we have the right to vote, we have one value of one single vote. And but in some of the countries like Fiji, so it's a Fiji islands, you will find near to the Australia. So local people here, say indigenous Fiji people, have more value of their vote than the Indian Fijians, means who have migrated there, and the local people of Fiji, the indigenous people of Fiji, they have more value of their votes. And some of the uh, countries, even in Saudi Arabia, women do not have the right to vote, where there is still monarchy. It's just started for the municipal election recently, and they are now have some rights to vote. But overall, as Saudi Arabia is a monarchy, so that doesn't constitute a democratic country. Fourth and the last point says rule of law and respect of rights. So rule of law and respect of rights means that state should respect some basic rights of citizens. I will just take you to an example, then we will sum up what rule of law is. So in Zimbabwe, so as Zimbabwe was first colony of the Europeans till 1980s. After that, Zimbabwe was became independent, and Robert Mugabe with the Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front has started ruling the country. So there was some critics who says that he wins the elections with unfair election practices, and when he came to power, so he changed the constitutions to increase its power, to make the president more powerful than the other. He controlled the media, so TV and radio was also controlled, so there was no basic freedom of rights given to the citizens of Zimbabwe. So rule of law basically means that there is no one above law. Everyone have to follow law, and they have to be with deal with the law. So a democratic government rules within the limits set by constitutional laws and citizens' rights. Everyone in India have the right to freedom. We have right to vote. We have right to live. So we have couple of rights, fundamentals, as well as the other constitutional rights, which we will study in some of the next chapters. But overall, we have rule of law and we have the respect for rights. So we in India, you can say that overall we have all the four features. So just again to explain to you, the first feature says that major decisions by the elected leaders. So elected leaders must take major decisions. Then there is free and fair electoral competitions required for the democracy. Third, there should be one vote, same value, and everyone have the right to vote. So these are the three, and the fourth, rule of law and respect of rights. So no one, irrespective of its position, no one is above law, and the government is governed by laws, not by men. So this is the brief of first two topics.